it should just be the right thing to do. It should just be because they're children and they're helpless. I think maybe even when it comes to animals, people look at it like, but they're helpless. They have to have us. And I think for children, they just think, but they have their doctors and nurses and families, like, someone else is going to do it. Someone else is going to do it. And so it kind of washes their hands, like, I mean, oh, that's so sad, but someone's going to take care of that. But no, it's you. Like, it's you. Like, we need you. And we need many. And I'd actually done a paper, because I went back to school, and one of the homework part of the assignment was that you had to grade your peers' paper and like give them feedback before they submitted it for the final grade. And I did a paper on childhood cancer and the need for research, and it was titled, "What Are They Worth?" And no one graded it. So it's like amazing to me that, because you got points for doing that, but they had many papers to choose from. I'm like one of the only, I don't know why, but so I had to go to my professor and ask her for the feedback, because I did need feedback. I do want a good grade. I wanted it to be a better paper, and I had to go to her because I just think already from like probably the first paragraph, they're like, it's almost like the problem's too big for me to fix. And so I can't. But it only is because it's been drilled to think that. Because if you think that something's rare, it almost takes away that it's even possible. Because you're like, oh, but that's so rare. Like, I mean, it's almost like a really bad flu that happened to them. And I'm really sorry about it, but what can we do? Like, it's a rare thing, but it's not. It's not. It happens every day. Children are passing every day. Children find out every day. And so that just can't be rare, But, and also because it is a very hard topic. No one wants to think about a child dying of cancer. And I mean, cancer affects I think has affected every single person, period. There's someone in your life, even if adult, that you don't know about this, you do. But thinking of a child with that is very hard, and I understand that. Like, I am not saying, and I'm not sensitive to the fact that this is hard for someone to think about, to watch, to hear about, but us turning a blind eye is, to me, like the biggest sin. And it's like it's just, I don't know. I don't know, Curtis. It's such a big answer because obviously we haven't found it yet because we just aren't there. But I think about it. I think about how to make change. How can you change someone's mind? And I don't know, but I'm just going to keep trying. Like, we just have to keep trying. I was also just talking about how, raising money every year is hard. It's hard. I just feel like also my well runs dry because people are like, you're always asking for something, But if you think about it, I mean, yes, but I can't apologize for it because that sounds ridiculous to say, I'm sorry that I keep asking for money for research to save our children. That sounds ridiculous, Right. And at the same time, it can be so discouraging that it makes you want to quit. Like, because you're so tired of being angry about it. And I don't want to feel anger, and I don't want to feel resentment, against my human race. It's like but I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's like it's just doing the right thing no matter who's watching. It's about doing the right thing no matter who's behind you, because in your heart it's the right thing. And I feel like when it comes to our children and everything we have witnessed our children and other children go through, will always be the right thing to stand up for them. It will always be right to ask for help. It will always be right, for funding until we have a cure, period. Until we have the treatment, cure, whatever, where this is going to stop, because my child's future is gone. Everything we ever dreamed for her. It's like you can't dream anymore for your child. From the time that they're born, you're full of these dreams of all the possibilities for their future. And I'm not even allowed to dream anymore because that would be ridiculous. How can I? But what I will dream for her is a better outcome for other families. And, she was light and love, and she cared about this. She would even say there's nothing more important than life. And that is the bottom line. And these children need our help. They are children. They are defenseless, helpless, and they're looking to us for the answers. And as parents, man, you've lost your superhero because this is someone you will die for, but you can't save them. And somehow I'll even find fault and think of all the things I should have done, maybe things I should have caught early, maybe if we wouldn't have done this, maybe we wouldn't have done that, and just all these things. But yet so I'm really only reflecting in my own, faults and seeing how powerless I really am. But to just at least have a voice, if that's all you could do, like, that's enough. It's got to be. And she even said no one should have to live like this. She did not just say a child, but in the end, what was happening to her and the pain and the suffering, she said no one should have to live like this. And we promised her that we would not give up, because I can no longer show my love to my daughter, but I will show my love for her. And this is how big it is. Like, I just can't stop. And she would want it, and I feel like I also can't live my life and always being sad or mad at people. I can't. So I can only really focus on what I can do. So I can ask someone to help. I can tell them this is the, this is the link, or this is what you can do, or you can, go and speak or whatever. And that's, and you just hope, that you'll get more. But really, I also want to just stay in gratitude again for the people in our lives that are doing something today that weren't before this. And sometimes that has to be enough, for me, that you may not change the whole world, but you're changing your little inside world. And that is a ripple effect that happens, that now, because Nova's teachers and the principals were so involved, their school, you see what I mean? It's like a ripple effect. And the children that Nova was friends with, it has affected them so. And they are doing something, like Nova's best friend, Naylin. This kid, is 10, and he's already raised like $4,000, to cancer research. And how beautiful is that? This is what he has done, a child. And some other adults, aren't doing anything at all. But you know what I mean? It's like you can't focus on who is not, because that will just make you want to quit. I just got to focus on, the changes that have been made and be grateful for those. And also that the possibility that there's still possibility for change and hope, and, and just seeing he's out there like a garage sale at the end of the street. He's, out in front of a barber shop, and he's got a microphone and everything. I mean, this kid has changed his life. And it's also really tragic that a child so young has to have learned what it's like to understand the world isn't, this perfect place where children live forever. And I'm just really proud of him and his mom. She told me that when they were on their last, he was doing the last fundraiser, I guess he gets upset when people keep walking or something. And I'm like, I feel so bad that even as a child, he's welcome to our world, but he said, he yelled out, well, I hope you never lose your best friend to cancer, and his mom was like, Neil, you can't talk to people like that. But really, he's saying, I think, what everybody else wants to say, but adults know that you can't talk like that. But kids will say, they have no filter. He's just like, you don't get it. It's as simple as that. I don't want this for you, so help. Join us, like, help, and to make a difference. So it's funny and sweet and bitter or sad all at the same time to see him go through all that. And he's helping me right now with Nova's Treasures. I'm going over there later because he wants to do the video. We were collecting Nova's Treasures since like 2020, and it started off with just doing it as like the Christmas time for children that are having to stay inpatient in the holidays. But now, since Nova's passed, I've actually been collecting Nova's Treasures monthly to actually be in the hospitals of the treatment center at Texas Children's, because these children are doing really hard things. And I'm talking, even when you aren't in treatment, going for a follow-up, you could be there for hours, especially if you need like a blood transfusion, which you're waiting an hour for the blood to get there. You're waiting another hour for that to happen. And then if she needs platelets, well, that's a whole other hour. That's 3 hours just spending at the hospital just for a follow-up, And in that 3 hours while you're sitting there, you're also witnessing a lot of other families going through the same thing. And you're just like, wow. All of us are here. Nobody knows outside in that world. It's like nobody knows in here that these children literally some are having like poisons pumped through because it's our only answer. So I'm knocking it. I'm just saying there has to be something better, because in a lot of these cases it is saving children, but that also doesn't mean that this isn't going to cause a lot of health issues and problems for them for the rest of life. Just like you were saying, some women or, girls will not be able to have children later but if it's right now the only answer, of course, us as parents is like, where do we sign? But there has to be something better for them. And to see, if something's so bad it makes your hair fall out, well, gosh, nobody wants that. And so it's horrible to see it happen to children, but it's happening every day. And in those rooms, sometimes we're there for 5 or 6 hours, and you see the dad holding the little baby that's only like 10 months old, not even walking yet. And this is what their world is now. And they're both sleeping because, it's already a hard time when the babies don't sleep at night, but this, and then like the teenager in the letter jacket, just like zoning out on, the phone with their eyes closed. And this is not where the other teenagers are, and just all the different ages, the little toddlers that don't want to sit there and have to carry the pole around and, wherever they go, or the mom that's having to put the gloves on that has to go change the baby. You see all this, or the child that has lost limbs because of it. When you see all this, it cannot not your heart and mind. You cannot see the world the same again, and to see it every day, it's a little traumatizing. And God bless the nurses that are having to do these very hard things every day. It's almost like a whole other kind of war zone kind of thing, a trauma thing every day, because every day you're also hearing screaming from kids that are back there getting either access or whatever with this, inch needle that's going into their chest. Nova would scream by the end of it, scream and say things I've never even heard her say, being so angry. And of course, that since I'm the safe one that she knows afterwards, I'm still going to comfort and love her. She's screaming at me, and that hurts too as a parent, for you to take it. And knowing that, she's like, I was screaming, I'll never trust you again. You're horrible. And just all these, and it almost feels like you're a part of abuse, because we're all holding her down, making her do this thing because we're trying to save her. In our minds that we're trying to save her, but for her, hurting her. And it's such a fine line of when to stop that, and having to, and then having to go on like nothing happened after that. Like you having to go home and do the normal things, act normal, when everything that just happened there and everything you had to see and all of the screaming and all the crying and the babies. And I mean, it's just hours of this getting to your head and heart that I cannot forget, and I can't let go, and I can't just say that's done for me, because I just no family should have to do that, have to live in that way, and no child. So this isn't an easy thing, to keep trying, especially whenever we've lost, the biggest loss, the one thing that everybody's signing for to not happen has happened. And so, I mean, kudos to you too, that you are still doing this for her and for all of them. It's so much easier for us to go hide back and just say, we're done. Like the game's over. It didn't work. We lost, and we'll just, but no, I can't, especially after seeing her go through all that. It almost feels like a waste. Well, then what did that happen for if you're not going to do something about it now? And I don't know. I miss her a lot. I want her back every day. But so much has changed in our lives because of her, and I'm grateful for that. Even the hard stuff, even having to do these hard things, I'm grateful that she showed me the truth of this world, and also the truth of the beauty of some other people that have the most beautiful hearts, and like the foundations, so many of them have brought so much joy and light to our lives. I'm so grateful, and all of them have their own missions, some just to bring joy, some are doing research. The CKMC, I'm on the board of directors. I appreciate we are bringing Kids of Hope and experiences to children in the Houston area that are battling brain tumors. And like the Sunshine Kids, we do Nova's Sunshine Scholarship Award now, because Nova loved school so much and she wanted to be so many great things. And these children that are about to go into high school, they just deserve the world. And so any little support we could give to them, because they're out there making those dreams come true that our children can't. And so it's like you want to support that because it's a beautiful thing. And so we have done that in Nova's name. We're doing the Nova's Treasures year round, and the CKMC is continuing that with us with the holidays because they've joined us. They used to just have their own like CKMC toy drive, but now they've offered to name it Nova's Treasures. Because initially when they asked me to join the board, I was like, no, because I think I'm going to start my own, nonprofit to do Nova's Treasures for Nova. And then they said, well, we already have all that. We can just name our thing Nova's Treasures. I'm like, well, done. Because I also hear from a lot of families, it's hard, to do this and the red tape of it and all that and to keep it going. So I thought, yeah, I'll just join y'all then because now it will be even more special and more big than it's ever been. And it really is. And so I love being a part of that. I love the Sunshine Kids and many foundations that have supported us. So that's another side of this that is pretty beautiful.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think in the very beginning, our diagnosis with Jace, we were on an island, knew nobody, had no understanding of this, completely guilty of being, I guess ignorant to the fact that there were entire, floors of children going through this, growing up our whole life, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
But again, it's, how much of it is that you just either block out the fact that anything bad can happen to a child like that, or you're just, what I mean, you think it's rare, it's not that big of a deal, so why would there be dedicated children's hospitals or research centers to that? And it's an unfortunate thing. I know that, but at the same time, I had the exact same feeling the morning that JC passed, and I carried her. I carried her out and put her on the stretcher to be taken to the funeral home, and then I just sat. And my wife asked, are you okay? And I said no. I said because everybody on our street right now has no idea what just happened next door. No idea. They're getting up, getting ready for work to go about their day and all this. They have no idea what just happened in a house 100 yards away from them. And that's the thing. If it's not happening to you, unfortunately, and I think we're all guilty of it, that if it's not affecting you personally, then it's easy to turn it off. It's easy to walk away from it. And that does make it, again, if we go back to, raising money and raising awareness and things like that, it makes it very hard because it's easy to turn it off if it's not affecting you. However, extremely, incredibly impactful marketing tool. I hope this doesn't happen to you because the reality of it is if you ever find yourself in a representative or a senator's office, biggest tool, your biggest in are those pictures on their desk that I guarantee they all have of their children. At any moment in time, we weren't, and this is very easy to say, very cliche, we weren't cancer parents until the day we were, right? Even the day before, even 12 hours prior to that, we weren't cancer parents. It can happen at any moment in time, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. All you can do is try to fix it. And, that what if game that we play after our children are diagnosed or after they pass will drive you insane. But you know what? What else do we have at that moment? What could we go? I find my wife does it too, and she's terrible at this because she'll go back and look at pictures and go, I should have known. I look in that picture and I see that she looked tired, or I look here and I look here, and you go back and say, well, maybe it was happening here. Maybe we could have caught it sooner, and maybe we could have. But would it have made a difference? We'll never know. We'll absolutely never know. Is it the doctor's fault? Is it the researcher's fault? Is it our fault as parents? Because I will forever, as a father, as a parent, I will forever feel like a failure, even though I know we did everything we could. Like I know in our heart we did everything possible. I will still feel like I failed because we are supposed to protect our kids. That's our only job in life.
Yeah.
Protect our kids, and especially, and I'll just, for me as a girl dad, I feel like I have an extra weight on me that says you're supposed to make sure that nothing bad ever happens to them out in the world. You give them the best, chances at life, but you're there to be their security guard. You're there to be their biggest supporter and cheerleader. And I couldn't do that. That's part of everything that we do now is that we couldn't save JC, but we want to save everybody else or give everybody else that opportunity. And that impact that these kids have is solidified by what the pastor at JC's funeral said to me and said to us and said to the congregation was JC was welcomed into the gates of heaven by Jesus, but she got there and said, but I only had 8 years. And he looked at her and said, but look what you did. in those 8 years. That's the impact that I feel like that moment I hadn't cried for days because I think I was out of tears at that point. But at that moment I broke down because that's what made the most impact on me. These kids make such an incredible impact on the world that it's not even felt until far beyond everything that's happened. I'll say this, I have text messages on my phone from people I have no idea who they are that reached out after the fact, like, hey, I'm so sorry, or whatever, condolences, these kind of things, support that we got, throughout everything, because that's her story. That's JC's story. That's Nova's story, right? That gets out there. It impacts people. I wish that it turned into millions and millions of dollars that we could raise to put into research. But the truth that it is very hard. It is very hard to raise money. And to be honest with you, we're 5 years into our organization. And I thought, even my wife and I, we thought it would be easier now. It's harder now to raise money. Because, unfortunately, I think we go back to that being done a disservice by the media telling everybody that it's a rare problem, that it's not a big deal. Because when you talk about CureFest, the Shoe Memorial, you talk about, the speeches and all that, how much media do you see there? You don't. The only way that and that's the issue, right? There's no media there to cover it. There's no newspapers, there's no local journalists. There's not even any politicians that show up, and their offices are literally right there. And that's an issue, right? That's a problem. And, we, a couple of years ago, so not last year's CureFest, but the year prior, we were with another family, and we went to visit the office of a representative from Texas, whose boss essentially is on the head of the Childhood Cancer Caucus. And when we got to his office, he had no idea why we were there. This is September. You're representing Texas, which, again, is that connection. Had no idea why we were there. And it was so concerning to me because it's like, shouldn't you at least just know because of, who Senator McCall is? You should know because whatever. But you didn't, and that's the big issue. The people that we need to write the laws, to pass the laws, to interpret the laws, to fight for us and be our allies have no idea why we're even there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a month later, I guarantee that on your office, on your Facebook pages, your Instagrams, all that, there's going to be a certain color that's going to show up, and you're going to be fighting for that because everybody knows what it is. And nobody understands what gold is. Nobody understands what kids are. And I'll say this, and it's been said before, and I think I agree with it 100%. I think our kids get left behind, and I think our kids get forgotten about and not fought for when it comes to government, because they can't vote. And I think that's just the heart of it. I think it's a sad way to look at things, but I don't know. I mean, prove me wrong. Somebody prove me wrong that that's not why. Because if they could walk in and they could vote for you and they could keep you in office or they could help you continue your term, you'd be all over wanting to fight for whatever cause they have. And it's, like I said, I think it's a sad thing, the sad way to look at it, but I would be happy to be proven wrong 100%.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. And I do want to say, like, when we were raising money for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, we were trying to do what we thought was like Houston's first Starry Night walk. I will say that Sophia Ojeda, I think it's a KPRC, God forgive me if it's not, because I wouldn't want to plug a new station that it was wrong. But oh God, I hope that's right. So she actually agreed to help us and to share that story when we were doing it, which I was really surprised because nobody is. And they said yes. I do want to say that that's great. I just wish that all media was on board with it. And it's so hard to rally people around, but it's even harder if you can't reach them, right? We're only reaching what we have in our followers or whatever, but when you have a platform such as me, then you would hope that it was used more, but it's just not. And again, I just think it's just because it's one of those stories just hard to share, that feels more of a sad, oh, I hope that never happens to me kind of contagion, kind of feeling like, oh, to even think about it, whatever could happen. And then, but yet would rather show some, like murder was happening at the gas station. You know what I mean? It's like, but that is not, it's like, that's sad if that's so normal to us that we can watch that every day. But, and I'm not even like, I don't know. I don't know. Justin said too, holding Nova, even with her taking her last breath in his arms, he said shortly after, whenever they left with her, that if every man, on that Senate floor, the Congress, just had to do what I just had to do, we would have a cure today. Today. Like, and you would never want that for anybody. It's not that you want that. It sounds almost awful to say, but it is the truth that if you really did, see that and experience it, I just can't think that as a human being you wouldn't do something about it. Even a person that is a nice person. It's just no way. Not after seeing something like that. And if for being your own child, it's traumatic, And we will just, it's hard to not think about those days. In fact, I just have to remind myself that my daughter only died once, and I can't keep reliving that. It was once, but she lived she lived 9 years. It's not long enough, never will be, but that wasn't her whole life. And I have to try to remind myself of that when you go back to that time, because it is just like the hardest thing ever, ever, ever. And I hope that nothing ever as hard as that happens in my lifetime again. It's the hardest thing to have to live through and to keep going. And it's just, it's unreal to me that she isn't here even still to this day, that she's gone. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to live with. It's hard to learn how to live with. When people think that, like I've heard, people say, I would just die without my child. I thought I would too. I thought I would too, die without my child. And you know what should scare you is that you won't. So it's even harder to live with.
Right.
To learn how to live with. And I feel like every day we just learn how to live without her each day. It's just, and it's because of that. It's because of cancer. So, hell yeah, I'm all about doing what we can so that another family isn't holding their child in their last breath, and that they lost their whole future and dreams and everything because of it, especially whenever you know that there is an answer somewhere out there if everyone just tried to get there. And I also don't understand why it's so expensive to fund, or why, you need millions of dollars for some of these things when they aren't, and maybe some of them aren't even inpatient. Like, again, I'm not going to go there, but I'm just saying, I think about these things all the time. It just consumes my life. But I also am able, to find the joy in my love for my friends and my family, and trying to just like, learn to live in this world without her. But I'm not incapable of finding joy or love or any of those. I'm still a human being, and feelings don't last forever. So even if I do have these moments of just complete grief, like waves of grief, I also have moments of hope and, joy and love and all those things. But man, it just will never be the same without her. And I've just accepted that, and that the way that I can continue to be there for her is to do something in her name, and to make a difference. And, with having to donate her tissue, or not having to, but wanting to make something of this that would also allow Nova to still be doing something about it even after she's not here, that kind of reach. And so we did, I decided to give, to donate her tissue to a gift from a child. And again, I'm grateful for that. That's their whole mission, is to do what it is that we're searching for, is to cure. And, they had said before, because I also allowed for them to take it from the spine, which that's where it had spread to when she relapsed. That was, I know they said it was just a real blessing, because it's a whole different type. And so for them to be able to have that, will allow them not only in Nova's cancers, but all cancers, because of that spread and what it's going to do. And that means something to me, that Nova, that this could change, for other children's lives or something, because it just feels so pointless sometimes to lose her. That at least in some little small way, there is a comfort of knowing that she made a difference. She mattered, and she's going to continue to matter. And we will make sure that our girls are, remembered, and for the beautiful lights that they were, and for all the change that they've done, even when they were here, like even between us, like we're not the same. I will never, think I'm just not the same person I was. And even though part of that is hard, it's part of it feels dark sometimes. I'm still very grateful that it has led me to a life, I think, with more meaning than before. And even though it comes with all of the bad, right? It comes with that kind of feeling like, oh, I hate people.
Yeah.
But I do. I love people, but there's some people and also trying to understand human beings. Like, what is wrong? She just changed my life forever, and she changed many others. And she was just so special, as and JC too. Just they were so special, and they will be remembered always. And I'm just really glad for everything that you do, and that all the people, all of the research, all of the nonprofits, everybody that's doing any little thing, it does make a difference. So I hate to sound so ungrateful to say, oh, well, if everybody isn't in, then it's, but everybody matters that is doing this. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the different foundations, even with y'all, with like the battle corn that's trying to bring, like the battle corn patches, trying to bring some kind of goodness into such a dark time for these families, and trying to bring light. And so you actually also get to see a whole other side of the world that is actually beautiful. There are some beautiful human beings out there. And just like all those nurses that are working in pediatric oncology, they are a certain type of human that we need in this world. And I'm grateful for them. We need more of them, but they have to be a rare find, because it just takes a very special human being to have a heart of like Tupperware, where it's a heart, but it's not, it's durable, and it's just going to keep going to do what they have to do and tough it out every day. Like we're in that world for a time, but we leave that world, and they stay there. Like that is their life. That's like an ongoing thing. And I'm so grateful that there's people out there that do that are out there trying to heal, even if the stuff that is doing it is really harmful. It's all we have. So it's like, and for some of them it is working, as far as it did, that their cancer is gone. And so, it's kind of a double-edged sword treatment.
No, it is. And it's, again, the nurses, child life, like it's true angels among us, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I think, I speak to a lot of them, obviously, and I think that, to be able to not disassociate, but be able to compartmentalize kind of how you do your job every day, and and I'm sure a lot of them take it home with them in a sense, but it's truly amazing how they can make a scary time not so scary for these kids, and they make it such an effort to do that. I'm happy to hear that you donated Nova's tissue to Gift from a Child. Just this past year, we were able to donate JC's tissue to Gift from a Child after not knowing that it was even stored anywhere for 4 years. We had no idea the tissue was even being stored at the hospital. So that's something that's incredible. Now, obviously, I wish, and I'm sure you wish too, that you could have absolute every single time for tissues used, you could get the name of the doctor, the researcher, and know what it was used at. Now, that's not a possibility, because they do kind of, in a very harsh way of saying it, they dehumanize the samples because for security purposes and, privacy reasons and things like that. But those samples are going to be used in studies, in clinical trials, whatever they need. But it's opportunity. I think, maybe I'm biased, but I think here in Wisconsin, based on, our UW system, I think we have some of the brightest minds in the country. And I think, all over the country, I think we have some of the brightest minds that are just waiting for that one chance, for that one sample, that one opportunity to step outside the class. I joke that, in high school I took French instead of Spanish just because I wanted to be different. Everybody took Spanish in high school. It was easy. I wanted to be different. Now, I don't remember any of it. Okay. I remember none of it, but I took the road less traveled by. And I think these, the samples like, with Nova's or with JCZ samples that are very rare, and they don't just have thousands of them sitting on the shelf somewhere. It just takes that one student to come in, that one researcher to say, that one that's in the corner that's got dust on it, I want to know why that sample is not being touched, and I'm going to figure it out. That's all we need. We need one person, one research project, one paper. I don't care. It's all it's going to take, and it's going to take more and more families that are willing to donate those samples to build up those biobanks, to build up, the opportunities at the colleges and the research centers, the independent researchers, all of that are going to want to make that change. And everything that, that we've done as a family and that we've done moving forward is to secure JC's legacy moving forward. And I think that's because she earned it, and I think she deserves it. And she, I think much like Nova, left a mission that we need to complete as parents. I joke it's because if we don't, I know JC will just haunt me anyway if I don't do it. But they left us a mission to do, something to complete. They knew, I think that in a way that I think these kids understand it, they knew that they were really here on loan to us. They were here for a reason. We weren't meant to have them forever. They were here to impact us for a short time and change the world, and they did. And they still are changing the world, and that's now our mission to move forward. I think we were all put here for a reason. We just didn't know what it was, and I think that I was put here to be an advocate. I just don't know that this is what it was supposed to advocate for, but I'm going to continue to do it, and I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to speak out, and I'm going to give people the opportunities to share their stories and their missions, because, again, together, we're so much louder and so much more impactful than if we are saying 37 different things. And that is what we need more of. Because without it, no, we will be behind the scenes forever. We'll be forever wondering about something that'll never happen. We have to make the change ourselves. Yes, we do need people that have an R or a D in front of their name that are going to sign these bills, that are going to make a difference. But we have to be the ones to impress upon them, if you will, that this is what they need to fight for. These are the causes they need to be behind. And everybody has a cause. And I will never, there are some that I think are dumb, but everybody has their own personal things.
Right.
But
right.
There's always a cause, and everybody has a cause. Everybody has a mission and something they champion. Be that champion, but make sure that you've got the support behind you. And don't be afraid to walk into these offices, send emails, make phone calls, whatever you have to do every single day. And if you want to join forces with any of us in this space, the more we have, the better chances we have. And be a part of something, because you don't have to be personally affected. You don't. But we need your voice, and we need you to understand, again, these kids need us. They need us to be their advocates, their voice, especially now for parents like us that don't have our children with us now. They need us to be their voice. They need us to be their biggest champion, and we need you behind us to understand that we never want you to know how we feel. We just want you to know that we don't want you to ever feel that way either.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing. I don't want you to ever, my wife and I were with JC when she passed. She was in her bed. We made sure she was comfortable. I had my head on her chest when her heart stopped beating. I've in the worst position ever as a parent to be in that spot. With my wife beside me, we held her hands. We made sure she was safe and she was comfortable. But we shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
I shouldn't, I had to get up and go into my other daughter's rooms and say, your sister's gone. We're not built for this.
Right.
Parents are not built from the factory to bury their children. They're just not. It's not it's not right anyway, but we're not built for that. And we shouldn't have to be advocating to stop it. We should be looking around the corner and saying, "Oh, they're on the cusp of something to change this." Yeah. We should be seeing all this happening, and in fact, it almost seems like a lot of times we're going backwards. Yeah. When JC was diagnosed in 2020, that famous number was 43 kids a day. Now it's 47. We're not going in the right direction, and we're not being told all the good stuff. We're being told it's under control. The cure rate's under control. The diagnoses are under control. We're getting better at it. But are you? Are you really? Because unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people think beyond the 5 years. You get that NED, which JC was NED as well. And then things went haywire, and because cancer is a real fickle son of a and that's the whole thing, is that there's no understanding of why it happens, especially for kids, right? There's no rhyme or reason for why either one of our daughters developed brain tumors. We don't live under power lines, and we didn't eat this and that and all this other stuff. And it's like you could just go down the check boxes and say no. Why did it happen? No idea. No understanding. And that's the biggest thing, is the misunderstanding. That's where our biggest hinder is that people don't know why it happens. And, not all of them, right? But a lot of adult cancer, you can say, okay, you've got liver cancer, maybe it was from drinking. You've got lung cancer, maybe it was from smoking, or maybe, not always, okay? I don't want to be like in that. But at the same time, a child with liver cancer, I don't think they're at the bar, right? And, a child with, that develops, any other type of cancer that can be associated with lifestyle is most likely not happening at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Right.
So,
which should scare people.
right.
Because if you don't know the why to something, then I mean, it could happen to anybody. And we agreed to all of the studies. If they said, would you participate, it was an immediate yes. Whatever it could do to bring, to bring, like, to gain knowledge, to actually progress, then yes, yes, yes. And we did all the testing, and there was no reason in the world for Nova to have this. And it's not genetics, and she didn't have any of the mutations or whatever that they expected to see. No, like, gene markers. It is no reason at all. Not even for her being female, for the age, none of it. And also no reason in the world for it to come back. And that should scare everyone. And it really hurts whenever you're searching after the relapse to find help, and you're told no because of these things, like no because she doesn't fit this trial, no because she doesn't have the mutation we're searching for or the markers we're searching for. I'm like, well then wipe the chalkboard clean, because what are you doing? Because she has it and she has relapsed. So therefore, whatever it is that you have narrowed in on doesn't matter. That must not be it. So it's like, refocus and start over. And it also hurts because you would assume that, well, if you have nothing to lose, then let them join. But no, because it does affect their numbers, which affects their funding. And I do understand that it is the bigger picture for the all, but that will not matter whenever it is your the one, to help. And it hurts every time. And it hurts as a parent to have to keep asking and get a no, no, no. And you just want to keep trying. You're so desperate. You're like holding out your child like a sacrifice or something. Help her, do this, do that. And even the natural stuff, which, oh God, don't get me started. We tried natural stuff too. It didn't matter. She still passed. And so it just drives me crazy when people think that they know the answer. Just do this. Like, I had no idea. You have found the cure. Like,
Right.
It's just amazing to me for people to be so ignorant. It's just, oh my gosh, soursop tea, I could save the world. I've got boxes in there. It did not do anything. Like, people just assume they're just going to throw out something. Just do this. I'm like, if it was just that simple, do you think parents would even sign up for this other hard stuff? Like, if you just gave them some tea or some CBD oil or whatever the case, it's so complicated. There is no answers. So not yet. And that is the hope. And so we're just going to keep going until there's an answer.
And we will. And I believe it. Like, I have a very hard time saying that there is or will be a cure. I have a feeling that there's going to be treatments that are going to keep things under control and make things a lot better in life expectancy and things like that. Because, again, cancer is cell mutations, and it's to keep things under control like that. I just don't know that we're there scientifically. Right. Maybe we will be one day.
Yeah.
But,
well, hell, even for better treatment and progress and to improve the number of lives living good, then, yeah, I am all in.
Yep. And I think we will. And I think the options will be there. And I think a lot of us can easily say that, going through this, our main oncologists, as much as we may love or hate them, I think we have to understand that they're only using what the tools they have in their toolbox at that moment. And if the options aren't there for them, they can't. And when it comes to clinical trials, things like that, for anybody that doesn't understand it, clinical trials are very, very hard to get into, because you either have to be not very sick or way, way past being up. You have to be just right at the level of sickness that sounds terrible to be included in a clinical trial. And most times when you get included, you have to go off your current treatment for a certain amount of time, which means you're taking a risk to go into these. And the answers aren't always there. And it's a chance. But just like in the beginning we said it, if it's a chance, we're going to take it, because that's the only chance we have. And it is very much up to us as parents to figure out where these trials are, where they're happening, what's going on, the options, to do the research. Because, again, the doctors are giving you what they have in their toolbox. Some are going to be a lot better to work with. Some are going to be, this is what it is. This is your choice. And, for us, we had one choice. We didn't have any other options. We did do our research and we reached out to other hospitals. We reached out, to all of them, and including St. Jude, which, again, every couple of years that argument and debate comes up on social media and goes completely crazy, and everybody has their own feelings, and that's fine. And it's never been a hate thing. It's just, I feel like whether you've been treated there, whether you haven't been treated there, the one thing you don't ask a parent is, have you tried? Of course we have. We've tried everything. It's not like, oh, well, son of, yeah, we should have reached out. No, you're, to me, when you ask that question or anything else, to be honest with you, you're assuming that we haven't tried everything or looked up to all of our options, or now in a position now where you can reach out to other parents and there's support groups and you can get options and ideas. It's getting better that way. But again, all of this stuff once is self-led. It's all of us doing it. But I think we do. I think we have a great deal of, maybe not knowledge, but experience, wisdom in that sense, that we can pass on to other parents that might make their treatment better or might make their options better. And that's good. And I think that's what this does, this podcast. That's what, just have going through all of this. Now you have something to offer to other parents that maybe are just coming into this, that are scared and alone and have no idea which direction to turn. And you can offer that to them. So I think that's a good thing. It just, but you have to do it at your own pace, 100%. We're coming, we lost JC in 2021, and so we're 4 years, almost 5 years going into this, and every year it gets harder, but we feel like we have something to give back, and that's what we try to do as much as we can. And so I know that when you and I met for the first time, it was at CureFest, 2 years ago, and that was just after Nova had passed, and difficult. But you were kind of in the same position that we were, because the first year we went to CureFest was literally 3 months after JC had passed, and we didn't know if that was where we wanted to be, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions we ever made because of the people we were able to connect with that truly understood us and could be there to support. And it has really blossomed into some amazing friendships and partnerships, and I'm grateful for that entire thing that goes on every September, that entire event that gets bigger and bigger every year. Grateful for that.
Same. It was crazy to it's almost like you finally felt at home, that all these people speak your language, and also it's really beautiful to see actually so many people in person doing something about it. We might see each other on like social media pages, but you don't see by the masses of people that are actually in this and care and are affected. And so to be walking among them, among these people that are inspiring and beautiful, these children and these warriors, and they're out there marching too. It's almost like you finally just can exhale and say, people do care, and that this does help, and that you are making a difference, even when it doesn't feel like it. Like when you're, behind your keyboard trying to do stuff, to see this in person, to feel the power of connection, and the power in numbers, and just seeing the beauty of people actually standing up for our children. It was very heartwarming. It was also very hard, because I wish that she was able to go alive, because but before it's either like we couldn't afford to, or it was because she was sick in the last couple of years after the relapse and just couldn't handle that travel. But it's like everything I do now, I do for her, and so it was really nice to see so many families out there together in this, and also seeing what they're trying to do for the families that aren't there, and to see that wall of angels it's just overwhelming. And yet, I don't know, it's just very overwhelming. And at the same time, you don't feel alone. You see all these other angels too, which it shouldn't be. Shouldn't be such a long wall, and it shouldn't be continuing. But it was nice to meet y'all finally in person after only really talking on social media, and meeting Amy and John, and these are beautiful people. And so I am grateful for the families that we meet in this, that are inspiring, that are doing something that you would not have known otherwise. And also even for the families that were for us in the beginning, all of the strength that we leaned on, we not having experience, but these families that came into our lives that had experience, that shared it with us, they are the reason that's what I want to be, for other families. It's because it really gave us hope and it gave us strength. And also it helped us because we wouldn't know the questions to ask, or we wouldn't know like the next steps to make if they hadn't shared that with us so freely. And so I'm really grateful to them, and it just makes you want to be that now for others, and to keep hope, which I never lost until her last breath. I never would. I said, so long as there was breath in her, I will not lose hope, for her life. And even prayed for the miracle, even up, to the last day. You just can't, as a parent, ever give up, and you never should. But we just, I just hate that families are getting to that point. It's really hard to see every day another child, where they say, another child's gained their wings or whatever. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. No, I feel it too, and it is every single day. It honestly
every
is.
day. And so I'm like, how are y'all not seeing it? But I know how, because this is not their algorithm world. And so I know that's why I'm seeing it every day. And even there are times where I feel like I can't watch, because it brings up so much. But I can't not, because I just feel like they deserve to be seen and witnessed. And this family deserves the support and the help. And, but it does hurt to see it every day. And then you're just thinking, how doesn't everybody know? That we've lost another one. It's almost like me and my sister were talking, it's like the Hunger Games or something. It's like those 47 children are being called out. This one's going to have to fight, and it's not going to be a fair fight, and in fact, the fight, they may not even win. And it's going to be hard. And if only like the fireworks would go up in the sky for every child we lose every day, for the many children we lose every day, not just ones, for you to see their name, for you to know that they were here and that they're not anymore because of it, because of cancer, and because we don't have the funds for research, which is just the biggest shame. It's hard, but I'm glad that they're sharing it, because it's the truth, it's the ugly truth, and people need to know. And those children should be here. And one of my favorite things that I have seen, I don't know who first said it, but it will always stick with me, is it's not about my child or your child, it's about our children. And that's how we should all be looking at it, as these are our children. This is, even for the ones that don't have children, there's got to be a child in your life that you love that this would affect. This is a universal problem. This is not just some hot topic for politics. This
Right.
is human life.
You're right, and I honestly think that this disease, especially when it comes to kids, is the pandemic, the epidemic of our lifetime and so many other lifetimes. I think that if we spent just half the time, just a quarter of the time, focusing on this disease and focusing on trying to find a way to give these children a better life that we did on COVID even, we would be so much further ahead. Because look at the way the world has jumped into order to try to fix a problem or try to figure it out. It doesn't, and just, you don't even have to bring politics into it, because just look at the way that the world changed because of that one thing. You imagine what we could get with media coverage like that on this every single day. I think, we'd be so much further ahead. When you talk about how rare it is, I tell people all the time, I say, go outside of your house and I want you to walk up and down the street 10 doors down. I guarantee you'll find either a child battling cancer right now, or a family that has a direct connection to it, or a child that has passed within 10 doors of your house. It is not rare. It is not a problem that is going away. It is getting worse, because we are force-fed that it is not a problem. We're force-fed that it is under control. We're force-fed that all we have to do is donate, and all of a sudden it will be fixed, because that's what's keeping it fixed. No. Right. But we also have to understand that you have to be able, if you're going to donate dollars outside, you're going to write a check every month, spread it out. I am a firm believer in the fact that we cannot put all of our eggs in one basket. If we put all of our money into one spot, one research center, one hospital, whatever, if you put all of your money into one spot, what about all these other people? What about all these other able-bodied researchers, scientists that are struggling, starving for money, starving for the opportunities, and they're left out in the cold? You're missing opportunities. We have got to be able to understand that not everything is surrounded or centered on one location of research, one location of understanding. We've got to get it spread out. And that's the only way we're going to figure this problem out. And it's the only way that children like ours are going to be remembered for something that change the world outside of their own incredible attitudes and spirits and everything. That's how it's going to change. That's how we're going to do it. And we as parents are going to do it. We as advocates are going to do it. And the ones that have seen the worst, the ones that have had to look their child in the eye and tell them there's nothing more we can do, the ones that have had to look their child in the eye and watch the light go out, we're the ones that are going to make that change, because we have seen the absolute worst that this world has to offer. And that's what it is, losing your child. There is nothing that you're ever going to say or do to me that is going to be worse than that experience at that moment. And we just have to continue to embrace it and understand that there is hope out there. We will get through this. We will find a way. We do adapt to our surroundings. We are very good at putting up walls and letting people only see what we want them to see. As a matter of fact, I think people in this community are masters at that. You may see everything happy on the outside, but you have no idea what we're feeling on the inside or what we feel daily and what we go through. But just know this. Everything that we've been through, everything that our kids have been through, everything their siblings have been through, we are going to come out on the other side somehow for them, because we don't live because of our kids. We live for them, and we live for everything that they dreamed, everything they had hoped for, everything that they had aspired to do in life. We live for that, and there's nothing that's ever going to come in our way from fixing this. And together we're going to do it. I hate that we have so many people in this community. I hate that we're friends because of this.
Yeah.
I hate that, it's terrible, because
Right.
you have to think about it in the end. Would we ever have known each other, anybody in the community, outside of this happening, but at the same time, because that brought us together, I think fate works in really weird ways, and I think that our kids absolutely are operating from up there, and they're putting people in our path that need to be in our path. And yes, I believe when it rains, I think they're dancing. I think when it's sunshiny, they're having a party. I think that they're doing things like that for us. We have to live for them down here, and we have to continue what they told us to do. So I'll be honest with you, this has been phenomenal, and I think that you and I could just talk for hours and hours and hours about this, But I want to ask you, what can people do to get involved with Nova's Treasures, or to help you in the mission that you've set forward for yourself and what she left you?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for asking that. For Nova's Treasures, well, I mean, it's not like a website of its own, but if you follow us, which you can follow Nova on Facebook or on Instagram, she's Supernova May. On Facebook, it's Supernova Against Pineoblastoma. Or you can actually follow the CKMC, which is Cancer Kiss My Coolie, is what it stands for. And we have links up there to the Amazon list, where you can purchase a gift for the holidays. And also I have a list, because I do keep those treasures filled monthly for those children that are doing hard things and getting a ticket, to get a little prize. So they get to go and choose Nova's Treasure, which Nova loved doing that stuff when she was there. So I'm glad that we continue that. She also is an ambassador, has an ambassador page for The Cure Starts Now, which you can either find on her page or just go into The Cure Starts Now under the ambassadors page. And you can also find, we do the Nova's Sunshine Scholarship Award through the Sunshine Kids, which again, you can find through her page. We've done posts about it. We appreciate anything. We're actually looking and hoping for corporate sponsors for our CKMC Gala in February here in Houston. So if you are a business owner and local and you would like to be a part of that, we grant Kisses of Hope to children, which is an experience that they wish for and can be shared by their family, to bring these kids some light. They're all going through some very hard days, and they need a break from it all, and also a memory for their family to have, where they can make some happy memories together and cherish those. And I love being a part of that. I love being a part of bringing light to these families whenever they really need it, because it was done for us, and I'm so happy to be on the other side to do it for them. And I really thank you for even allowing me the opportunity to share that opportunity for others to help, Curtis, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. I will, in this episode, both, in the audio version on YouTube, I will tag all of that. I'll put all the links in the description, so anybody can follow and can check that out and get involved in any way that they can. it truly is incredible what you're doing and what you're putting out there and what you're trying to do and what you will continue to do. I think that both of our girls, I think would be very proud of what we're all doing. I think we can both be a little biased in that, but I think they'd be proud of what we're doing in their honor, because it really is the right thing to do, but at the same time, it's a mission that they left, and it's a mission that I think they would have carried out anyway, because that's just who they were. But I think it's up to us now, and I think we're tasked with that. And I'm super honored to have been able to not only to meet you, but also to hear about all of this. I hate that our stories align so well, but at the same time, it puts us in a position where working together is what's going to make the difference here. And it's, it's collaboration, it's networking, it's, I hate using the word networking with all of this because I feel so businessy.
Yeah.
But it is in a sense. And so I'm honored to have met you and to be able to speak about this. I will again put all of these links in the descriptions, but I will ask you one more thing before we close, and that is at the end of every episode, I always ask my guests to give their best advice to other parents or to even, just other people that are outside of the community, but your best advice to kind of leave the episode on that maybe you've come across or just worked the best for you.
I think staying in today is important. No matter what you've heard, no matter what's to come, if you've got a big, long, like if you've got treatment coming that's going to be months long, just stay in today. That's way too overwhelming to do, and really that's all we have anyway. And so you're just like, what can I do to get me through the rest of this day and my child and my family? And that's what matters. To stay in the present as much as you can and to never lose hope, and also trust your gut and allow people to love you through this. Even if it's hard for you to ask for help or accept it, just allow them to love you through it because they don't know what else to do.
I think that's perfect. And I was honestly thinking the same thing of you have to be okay with leaning on people. It is okay. It is something that you will learn to understand. We're still learning how to ask for help. It's okay to lean. So I will say that, again, I appreciate you spending the day with me talking about all of this. I will, again, put all of the information in the description so everybody can reach out or they can be involved any way they can. I will also say to Nova and JC, we love you guys. We're doing this for you, and we hope that you're proud of what we were doing. If not, flicker the lights or something. I don't know.
And come back and tell us.
No, please, any day you want. Although sometimes I am afraid to look into a dark hallway. I'm just saying, you have to laugh about it, otherwise, you'll go crazy. But they gave us a lot. They loved us. They were innocent, and they provided so much to our lives. We're so thankful to have had the time we had. Wouldn't change it for anything in the world because it meant we got to have them. So
right, we're just giving back what they gave to us.
Absolutely. So thank you again, Bobbi, so much for spending the time with me today. And we will see everybody else next week.